feet or something. I don't know. It's weird,
Okay.
like wide in the front and narrow in the back. It's oddly shapen. And
Yeah,
I read
we're back live.
9 or 10 women's.
Uh,
But big feet women is normal in my family. So
I have a question for Brittany.
yeah,
I'm just curious, like, how old are you?
I'm 22.
Wow.
baby,
So, yeah, you might see a lot more changes.
Oh,
Because you were so
you're in
young.
between my daughter's ages.
Yeah, I'm the
Yeah.
oldest of my sister's younger, and I have friends who are a bit older, like from college, or like a bit older, like 2 or 3 years older.
Mm-hmm.
Although one of them actually has the same name as I do.
Really? Also Brittany?
Yeah.
Like, I have a friend, a former friend who has a child named Caden.
Hmm.
Like, and it was coincidental, so I get that. But I don't think I've ever met anyone else with my name who was cis.
okay. I mean, there's a deity in Pathfinder that's named Caden Kalen, but that's
I
about
know,
it.
I know. Like, I play Pathfinder, and I've gotten so many comments about that. Oh, I'm like, and he's like my least favorite deity, honestly.
Yeah,
But yeah, like, I get that a lot.
I would be very close to Caden Kalen in yeah, yeah, I'm kind of a free spirit.
No, I'm not. I'm the opposite.
All
But
right.
yeah. One question I had for all of you here, basically, and I didn't get a chance to ask it during the actual show, but since it's the after show, now I'm kind of wondering, like, do any of you consider living your entire life in the closet? And was that like ever a serious thought? Because I know that you're all from progressive areas.
For me, I didn't really think much about it until it happened. Like it was just like I guess the time was like around 2017 when
Mm-hmm.
after I was questioning and realized I was non-binary.
Mm-hmm.
I it was basically for me like my friends were obviously accepting, but I was like, okay, how do I navigate family, like parents, and then their extended ones? I
Yeah.
just now my attitude is like, if I get outed to them, so what? I'll just explain later, and if they're gonna be, nasty about it,
Mm-hmm.
that's their problem, not mine.
Yeah.
And then going out in public was one thing, like living like full-time non-binary. For me, I haven't really gotten much hassling except like some like old people staring at me,
Yeah.
or I remember like some people or like even like some of the younger people were like staring at me kind of weird. Like I remember like someone was clearly looking at me. Their head was like going up and down and around and like looking at my outfit. It's
Mm-hmm.
like one of the first few times I was wearing like a skirt around campus when I was
Mm-hmm.
there. And then yeah, like most people seem to be not making a big deal of it, which was good, but or maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's because they're just humoring me. I don't know, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
That's kind of my experience. I've had a few people take double takes,
Yeah.
but lately, since I've been, mostly presenting as
Hmm.
as a woman, people have really, I've been getting gendered properly for my presentation. Um, like no one ever seems there. Did you mean, did you mean like coming out of the closet for being non-binary?
Like, I just meant like coming out of the closet from being your birth gender, basically. Like, if you consider like just not transitioning or anything like that.
Well, I at one point in time saw transition as an unobtainable goal, so um,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't come out of the closet unless I wouldn't come out of the closet unless I was going to transition. So once I decided that I don't care what it takes, I need to transition. I was like, I'm pretty sure I've shown it to Jenny. My Facebook post was "fuck to speech. I'm trans. I'm going to transition. Fuck off.
Yeah, I've
I need to
seen
go to
it.
sleep." Oh, and I'm bi.
Yeah. I thought about doing like a coming out post on Facebook, but all I did was just put my pronouns and then changed my name,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. I mean, I've actually shared some things that might be like trans related, but they're like kind of subtle. Like I actually shared like a picture of like estradiol pills in like a Skittles wrapper a few days ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came out and which is actually when our Pride Month is. I came out 2 days
Pride.
before. I came out to. Oh yeah, my coming out post also said, "Oh yeah, I took Saturday off to go to Pride." um,
Nice.
I've never been to a Pride.
no. Oh, you're missing out. Even the small one we had here was great.
Yeah, but you gotta realize when I started transitioning, I was living in a small town which didn't do a Pride.
Fair enough.
And then by the time I'd moved to the city, I had my surgery not long after that, and I basically went stealth.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought of I've thought of going stealth, but it's just like not for me.
Yeah,
Like,
same here.
like I could, and if I wanted to, but I could probably go stealth like in completely stealth in like 3 or 4 months into my more into my transit like within the first year. But I don't really want to. I would have to do things like talk, and which I can do perfectly comfortably,
voice
but
training.
Yeah.
Yes, the only reason why I don't go like
There you go, May. You need to send a link.
yeah.
My voice usually gives me away. I could be serving up like the fishiest femme look ever, but when I start talking, that goes away. And then I try to get it up a little bit. I think I'm trying to do it now a little bit, but it gets too hard. I guess if I have more practice, I don't know.
Voice is tough. Like if I had to train my voice, I wouldn't be able to succeed. Like I have always talked this way even before I came out.
Same here, kid.
Same here.
Yeah, this is my normal voice, so it's like, yeah, so what?
I don't know if anyone. Yeah, I mean voice training stuff.
I've actually tried to go both up and down with voice training.
Same here, actually.
I didn't get very far doing
nothing wrong
either.
with being androgynous in your voice, though. I mean, lots of women.
I kind of want to be androgynous. Actually, that's exactly what I want.
Me too.
Like my
sound
voice
androgynous, Caden.
Yeah, well, you sound, yeah, like
there's nothing wrong with your voice at all, Caden.
I'm using the voice app. Purple Rhymes with Orange is about to come in. Purple is like absolutely amazing.
Yeah, using the voice app, it reads me as androgynous.
Yeah, it reads me as right in the middle of androgynous.
It normally reads me as like in the male range. Sometimes I get up in the androgynous range. Although one time I got up like really high into like the female range once a few times. But that took like a really
I can do Uber Femme if I want to put it on, but I
don't want to sound.
I don't know. I'm doing it right now, but it's hard, you know. Voice training is so hard.
It is. You shouldn't be pressured to do it. You do
yeah.
you do you.
Oh my darlings, I just love you all so much.
I mean, I can go a lot higher than I normally do. I mean, like I can go quite a bit higher. And this is as high as I can get my voice and not sounding like I'm trying. I can go even higher, but I sound fake.
I'm deep. This is deep. What do I normally sound like? It
no,
sucks.
not you. Not you. I meant Maze. Like height. May's voice, like super high like this. Like not you, Whitney,
Yeah, it's
not at
not.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
get
I
that.
mean,
I'm all
I
over the
can go
place.
up really high, but I sound fake. So
Same here.
I
Like if I
can't.
try to talk like this sounds like falsetto. This doesn't sound like an actual thing.
Yeah,
It,
I can go extremely high with falsetto. I can sing well. I can't sing it very well, but I can hit the notes, which is
we
very
will
hard
from
notes to hit.
Rush.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh, I love Rush.
Another Rush fan. Oh my gosh.
Rush, good band.
Rush
I
is
can
my
sing
favorite
opera.
band.
Does that count?
Okay, so you can sing Epica then.
I can. My head voice is very high. But I have a break in the middle that I work really hard to try and overcome. So
I think it has to do with my joint hypermobility, where I can get my voice that high because my tendons and ligaments and all that stuff just are made out of silly. Hey, Purple.
hey, Purple.
Hello.
How you, lovey?
Okay.
That's good.
I've never used Zoom before, so this is new software for me.
Okay,
Oh.
it's pretty good. I like it more than Hangouts.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do to at least get my avatar to show up, though.
You have to create a Zoom account.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll probably have to do that later.
Yeah.
Oh, what pronouns do you prefer?
I really don't get hung up with that because I really am gender fluid, so for me it's more a matter of my mood.
Nice.
And when people misgender me more than anything, I find it mildly humorous.
I get that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't ever
I just don't
I
care.
try to present as female.
Is Diana still around? Is she?
But I have people come up behind me in stores a lot and say, "Can I help you, ma'am?" And then when I turn around and they see the full beard, they get all flustered. And the funny thing is that a lot of times, once they've made the mistake, they can't correct it, and they keep using female pronouns.
Yeah.
I've actually had that happen to me from behind for a few times because of my voice, because I always have long hair, which my long hair has nothing to do with gender. Okay, it's just because I'm a metalhead.
I've seen pictures from before.
I liked having long hair. It's just more to play with.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I always wanted long hair. Never thought about it as a girly
The
thing.
guys to grab hold of
Mario's
too.
too much work. I have short hair,
Okay.
but I mean, for me, it's too much work. I mean, not for you. Like, I'm not trying to
I
offend.
mean, I did.
Yeah, at one point I had a ponytail that hung down to my belt.
Oh, nice. I mean,
And-
I did literally
Yep.
nothing but comb my hair, but brush my hair to get this. I swear.
That looks amazing.
I have my
honestly.
brush here.
That looks amazing.
So my hair is just good for being curly like that.
It is. Like,
Yeah.
it looks amazing, but like for me, like the whole man from behind happened to me all the time. Like before I came out, and then I would turn around and they would switch to using male pronouns, and it always felt like a knife in the heart. Like, I was like, I'm not trans, but why does this hurt like this? I'm not trans, but yeah, I was just in denial. But yeah, like, I get that. And
I never thought about I never seriously thought about pronouns until recently. I just threw everything like that off to the if it becomes the thing I need to worry about, I'll worry about it then. Kind of issue. I kind of knew I liked female pronouns, but it seemed to be an irrelevant thing to think about for the longest time because I wasn't going to transition. It was unobtainable as far as I was concerned. So yeah, I had to just apathy towards a lot of stuff just worked nicely for that. Unfortunately, I got too apathetic about a lot of stuff.
yeah,
That's largely where I'm at.
Yeah, like I was apathetic for the longest time because I was just like, if I start thinking about this, it will torment me. But like, even as a child, like I would always refer to myself with they. Like no one else called me they, but when I was thinking about myself internally, I would always use they pronouns
Oh,
because I thought they was like the only thing that was neutral. Like and I still use they today, but it was just like I couldn't refer to myself as a he,
Yeah,
and
I'm.
referring to myself as a she felt wrong as well.
I always just refer to myself as I. I don't think of myself in the third person or anything like that.
I
Yeah.
never really use the third person. Yeah, although it's
Maybe I'm
July now
weird.
here, in
Mhm.
Eastern time, July 1st.
Oh, it is.
Oh,
Happy July.
thank you.
It's July.
It's Canada
Is it right if
Day.
I say something as well?
Yay!
I
Canada Day.
I apologize if I made any like rude comment that wasn't what I intended. Like on the hero thing, I was just talking about my own experience, but I kind of heard like the uncomfortable okay. So I really apologize.
Oh no! I I think I was just more confused or looking at something else.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or I
Yeah,
just didn't get. No. You didn't. You
I'm
didn't offend or
awful
anything.
for making inadvertently, offensive comments when I don't intend it.
Yeah, absolutely. I try not to, but like yeah, don't worry about offending me. If you actually manage to offend me, then you will both know it, and you should like get a medal or something for actually managing to do it.
The only thing that really it's like if it's like a personal attack or something. It's like
Mhm.
if you're like being like really shitty to me. Yeah, if you're it's like I guess whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
I'm pretty
The
Like I
chill about
usually,
some things until it's like like something like deeply offensive or just like if you're like deliberately being shitty to me or like
yeah,
I mean even I guess even like or if you somehow press my I don't think it'll ever happen here. You're not like my parents who are really good at pressing my dysphoria buttons because they're
yeah.
weird
oh,
about it. They make a big deal about it and a weird deal about it, not big deal, weird deal.
Oh, I'm
like
sorry.
I don't really have those, fortunately.
Yeah, they're
Although
just
no,
it's like
I do, but like um, it's usually when walls I've built up come down.
mhm,
Like the other day, I was extremely dysphoric because I learned that the minimum, what I would consider to be the absolute minimum acceptable surgery for bottom surgery for me, is something that people are actually doing. So that brought up that literally just exploded the walls up I put around that dysphoria, and it made me quite dysphoric and euphoric and just all over the place with
mm,
my emotions, right?
I get
Um,
that.
so uh, yeah, that's what it takes. I'm usually not dysphoric, especially not since I've. It's weird because I developed very powerful coping mechanisms. Too powerful
mm.
coping mechanisms. The cure was worse than the problem. For dealing with dysphoria,
Same here.
over the last 15 years. So yeah, like
Sorry, I'm
I'm.
just reading Lizzie's comments.
Uh, oh. Uh. Yeah.
Thanks,
What
Lizzie.
comment was
Oh,
that?
you show should do that. That would be awesome.
Yeah. I swear I'm on my Maybone channel. I'm gonna go and do some. I don't even want to call it debunking of transvestigations. Just laughing at them. There's nothing to debunk.
Oh gosh,
Yeah,
yeah, that one account. Everyone is trans. Like I've seen like
Yeah.
Donald mention on there as trans. Donald, that's your crime.
Well, okay. He's in the chat, but Jenny and the conspiracy, agnostic Ozzy, and I did. I want to say agnostic Ozzy never offended me. He just pissed me off. He just pissed me off to the point of where I'm like, fuck you, I want to block you.
He's awesome.
He is pretty. I have to ask him like what the fuck he was thinking then, but like
he was trolling you, May. He was trolling
he
you.
He was just pissing me off, not actually offending me. And now he's like grossly afraid of actually offending me. And I'm like, no, fuck off with that. But anyways, yeah, this.
I'm on my phone, so like, what's going on again?
Okay, so we did a debunk of the Transvestigations people last night.
Nice.
Yeah, and they actually attacked. They actually all like dogpiled on his channel and like left like almost 700 downvotes and
at least half of them with transphobic slurs in them.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of I didn't see a lot of transphobic shit in it. I did see some, and I did give the best answer to the one person who's like, is that a dude or a chick? Yes. So, oh man.
I mean, we were doing a video debunking them calling everyone trans, so it was quite even if there hadn't been two trans people in the chat, we would have all been called trans anyway.
Yeah, but no. Now that we're anyway, it's hilarious. They did it on Steve Irwin and his entire family, and
oh my gosh, like the crocodile hunter, like
yeah.
But not just calling him trans, they called his wife trans and Bindi trans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had shows with Bindi on back in the 90s when she was like a baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a rather flattering picture that they used of her, where she's in a bikini top, and my exact response was, if she's trans, how did she get that? Yeah. I really need to know.
But they were talking about her as a child, a pre-pubescent child, as being trans,
as looking like a dude.
As I said, looking like... you are androgynous before puberty. Everyone is androgynous before puberty.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's normal.
I was definitely a tomboy as a kid.
Oh my gosh, like I've always been like in terms of behavior and in interest, I've always been more masculine than feminine. Like I'm into like adventure and hiking and rock climbing, video games, tabletop games.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I've never been this girly. Oh my gosh, let's go shopping.
Oh my gosh, let's go shopping. But oh my gosh, let's go shopping for like whatever the fuck. It doesn't matter if it's girly stuff or guy stuff. But yeah, I really like warships and battleships and shit like that. And
exactly.
My mom got me into that. My mom goes fishing and hunting and spends more time in the bush than I do. Like if
sure
we're
you
using
spend a lot more time in the bush if you had the opportunity.
Yeah, we're not in the main show now.
Oh, we're not in the main show either. Yeah, that's right. All right.
I don't. Fuck you.
Although you are still live on YouTube, so this is still going out public.
Yeah. It's already happened.
Demonetized.
I mean, this is still sitting there, so.
I still think it's freaky that you do this.
Although just for a second, going back to the, Lizzie and Enda Conspiracy are saying these trolls left over 3,700 comments.
3,700?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
3,700 views, nearly 1,000 comments.
Do these people not realize the way the YouTube analogs work? That by leaving 3,000 comments, they're going to boost his channel up to the top of the suggestions.
Yeah.
Exactly, which is not what
And
you
we've
want.
already put out a call for some other big channels to people with big channels to come in and fix that dislike ratio. So there's a really good chance he's going to end up with a humdinger video here.
And
might
it's
even
gosh,
cross
it
the
might
monetize.
awesome.
it might explode his channel a bit.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
more than hurting him, they're really going to just help him a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
And
GE
you don't
and
have to do anything in the comment section to have a go at those people for anything bad they said about us, because other people will do it for us.
yeah,
Exactly.
I'm not in the least bit interested in their bullshit because they're coming from a point of hate. Most of them are
I don't even not
conservative
all of them
Christians who-
are even
not-
coming from a point of hate.
Exactly.
A lot of them are coming from a point of absolute stupidity.
Yeah, well, that's
Exactly.
true. Most of it's
Well,
stupidity,
she's
but
the same.
some of them are
Oh,
hate.
yeah.
There's definitely some hate in there, like the ones that Jay had to delete, and there's a
Oh.
couple others there that aren't particularly nice.
No, there are a lot that aren't particularly nice, mostly directed towards me. But yeah, whatever. I don't
and
care.
me, I got my fair share, mate.
Oh yeah, I only went through like about 50 before I got bored and gave up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Because the best insult they threw at me was the thing. Why are they dressing like a grandmother? They should dress younger. The stupid grandmother tranny, and I'm like, what?
Like,
I'm
it's
not
just
to
so
be a
stupid.
grandmother, so fuck off.
Yeah, you're like 45, aren't you? Like
46. I'm 46.
like, and the thing is that like I've gotten so
And
many
they were
weird.
picking on my grey hair. I'm like, fuck's sake, I've got grey hair. I am older. Yeah.
Exactly. Like,
You know, if the whole thing
have to
about
look
picking on me
young.
being trans is I'm old and I've got grey hair, well, hey, look, I'd have that if I was cis, so fuck off.
Ageism, it's so stupid. And like for me, the comments that I've gotten, oh, you sound like Elmer Fudd, but like, yes, I know that. I can't help it. And also like one of the most hateful comments I've ever gotten is, you are just a sick, perverted, and autistic man.
Ew.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
where are you getting
Ableism.
autistic from? Like, I mean, I never said I was autistic. Like, and even if I was, like, why would it matter?
Yeah.
Sick, perverted, autistic man is a pretty accurate description in my case.
Oh yeah, own that. Own that, Purple.
I'm like that, except for like the man part, obviously. But I knew I was autistic for like all my childhood at least. So
Yeah, I'm
Well, given that
autistic.
this is what I used on stream to prove that I don't have a gag reflex, then yeah,
Oh my
I'd
God.
probably go with sick.
Yeah. See, when I was growing up, there wasn't even the vocabulary for most of this. You know, even
Yeah.
my autism wasn't even diagnosed until I was in my 40s.
Oh.
Well, wait, I'm not the only one, because I will admit that I mean, it's not autism. I have Asperger's, but I'm on the
yeah, they
autism
use that
spectrum.
term actually, like
I-
Asperger's syndrome.
Am I not the only one?
Yeah,
Asperger's
well,
syndrome
in
is
CMSV5, they've eliminated Asperger's as a separate condition and just rolled it into the autistic spectrum.
yeah.
Really?
Asperger's and high functioning autism are the same thing. It's just that they were described by different people and used by different, and the two definitions were used by different people for years until they were like, oh no, wait, this is the same thing. But
Yeah,
it doesn't
they
matter
basically
whether you
determined
use.
that-
I'm autistic then?
Yeah, they basically said that there aren't enough unique characteristics to classify it as a separate disorder.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's
So, I mean, I was diagnosed with Asperger's or high functioning autism. I like to say for high functioning autism because first off, I get to say high functioning. To say I'm high functioning, and second off, I don't say Asperger. So
It's Asperger's, technically, because it's a German name.
yeah, Asperger's. It's just
I've never been able to pronounce it.
Asperger's.
Too many R's in it.
gonna parlay pod German.
Allemand. Ich spreche ein bisschen. Ja, das ist gut, aber sein. Ich war
Je ne
studiert Deutsch in Universität und ich habe studiert in Deutschland für 3 Monaten.
I'm
Je
very
ne
happy.
parle
German
pas.
accent.
For the
It's
record,
funny,
je ne
like-
parle pas français. Je ne parle pas anglais. Je parle late itself.
Oh my god.
Je parle un peu français, aber it's not that much. I mean, I'm relearning for Duolingo.
You speak really good German, actually. Like, I'm in the process of learning Japanese, which no one else speaks, but it's always fascinated me, so I'm going for it.
Cool. I've tried to learn that a couple of times. I want to actually learn French, but like I know words here and there and a few phrases because I'm Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did get
Everyone
to
in Canada.
use some things when I was in Montreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Now, I don't actually speak any foreign languages,
Hmm.
but my fiance said that I spoke German in my sleep.
Oh. Well,
Well,
French wouldn't actually be a foreign language. Have our own French.
yeah, it's local, like with me in Spanish. Like, I don't consider it a foreign language because
I mean,
it's our
Spanish is
second language.
pretty widely spoken. Although there's also actually like there's also like PA German, like the Amish and Mennonites speak. It's like a
Yeah.
dialect that.
The French from France don't consider Quebec French
Yeah.
to be French.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard
They're
it's like
really
it's like a
snobbish about it.
older. It sounds like it's like the French in France. It's like it sounds like an older form of French.
The peculiar thing about the French, all over the world, okay, it's just part of their culture or something, but they are super protective of their language. Like, nothing can change ever. Like, we have
Exactly.
literal language police in Quebec who tried to go after Italian restaurants for listing their Italian dishes with Italian names.
I've seen
Yeah,
that
the French
like
are a bit
in
weird.
Quebec. They have like l'Office de la langue française, and they really do like crack down on things. Like even
Oh yes.
like in the West Island of Montreal, with the
Right.
mostly English neighborhoods having English signs. They're like, no, you have to list things in French only.
Yep.
Tabarnak.
Well, some of the British get down on the way Americans speak English.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
well,
it's
no,
like,
no,
whenever
that's...
I hear that, it's like, have you ever talked to a Welshman?
Oh no, no, no!
Or
It's not the
Or
it's not the English. It's just the rest of the world have a problem with how you say Z.
Z.
Zed.
Dead.
Just every other
Z.
country say Z except for us.
Z. It's
Literally
like
everyone else says Z.
American English.
Z.
It's just an American English
Yeah.
thing. It's like Z.
I'm a weird Australian because I say Z instead of Z.
Ugh.
I've always said Z.
I think
Well,
it's
see,
Australians could say it, but
It's only
Canadians.
Z if you're using metric.
Yeah, I do use
That-
metric.
I'm
Zed.
bimetrical because I'm in Canada and we have to deal with US. We actually need to use material from time to time. So like
And I am so pissed about this because when I was in middle school in the 1970s,
Yeah.
they told us that the whole US was going to be metric, by 1980 or at least by the year 2000. And I am so pissed that they never went through with this because
I
it would
know.
make my work so much easier if I could deal with centimeters instead of fractions of inches.
Oh yes.
Exactly.
This is my measuring
Oh
tape.
yes.
Centimeters.
It makes so much more sense.
Then
I
I
wish I
use
could show you
Instead of
mine. It's
feeling
got
like-
inches on one side and centimeters on the other side.
This is solely
Was
centimeters.
that a
Yeah.
tattoo, was it?
Because I actually do most of my design work in metric, and then I have to convert it over to what size the materials are going to come in inches.
Wow.
I did a lot of wood
But
shop when I was in school, so
yeah,
I
it's a lot easier to do the design work in metric.
Yes, it is.
It makes sense. Like metric just makes more sense for everything, for temperature, measurements of distance, time.
Yeah.
It just makes so much more sense. Like, why do we insist on using this awful, outdated imperial system in
Well,
the US?
just when you wind up having to add columns that you've got like a quarter of an inch, an eighth of an inch, 3/16 of an inch, and you got to figure out what this is all going to come to. Yeah, it's so much easier when you can just do centimeters and just move the decimal point back and forth.
Hayden, have you used decimal time?
Me?
Yeah.
I have not.
Okay.
I haven't used decimal time. I mean, I've heard that it makes more sense, which I mean, I'm pretty sure it does, but I've never actually used it.
It's hard to fit it into a day where everything is a nice equal package.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my god, where is my mind at the moment? Brittany's playing with a tape measure. You're talking about packages, and I was holding a dildo in my hand.
I mean, it was relevant because we were talking about metric versus like the English system, and
yeah, isn't that weird how like if you're talking about heights, most people will go talk
mine
about
mine has a handle.
And if guys are talking about penis length, it's always in inches.
Because
I have a very convenient length that is equivalent to a common size of naval artillery, and I know the metric and imperial measurements for that.
Can you tell us?
203 millimeters. There you go. I've said that a few times.
Well, and I'm actually surprised that men haven't supported the metric system, because doesn't 15 centimeters sound more impressive than 6 inches?
Yeah, 8. What is 8 centimeters in inches?
I want to say 3.5.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah. Why did I ask? I don't know. But
yeah,
it does. 8 centimeters sounds more impressive than like 3.5 inches.
It does. So yeah, like guys should get behind this because it kind of enhances them.
There are a lot of people. Actually, a lot of guys
What am I
in
even saying?
a lot of guys in Europe actually do.
The US
it's
while they abandoned everything else about going metric, why do we still have 2-liter pop bottles?
I have no idea.
How did that stick, but they're 2 liters instead of half a gallon when nothing else metric stayed around?
Exactly, but the only thing that we use metric for is fetching pop. 2-liter bottles that have 1 liter.
Yeah, the soda bottles like 2 liters. Like, although I never seen 2 like the biggest I saw in Germany when I was over there was like 1.5, but not 2 liters.
Well, that's because Americans are obsessed with sugar.
Yeah, bigger sizes. I guess
I've seen 3-liter bottles.
Yeah, I know a store where you can buy those.
I don't think you can get them here anymore. I have a 60-liter CO2 canister, and I just have a soda stream now. So I almost never drink like pop or bot pop. I use either a combination of lemon and lime juice in carbonated water, or I use like that Mio stuff or other stuff like it, and that's what I mostly drink nowadays. And coffee.
It's like 500 milliliters.
Oh, that's way more than 500 milliliters. It's probably like 750.
700. It looks, or I think it was like 17 fluid ounces. It looks taller. It's actually pretty narrow.
Yeah, well, if it's an insulated bottle, it's got a smaller capacity than
yeah, if it's insulated.
I think they said it was like 17 fluid ounces, which is that almost?
I don't know.
Well, 17 ounces is like half a liter.
Yeah, that's 500 milliliters.
Yeah, that's 5 mil. Okay. It's a smaller bubble than it looks.
It's thin. It's very
Yeah.
thin. It's tall but thin, and it's
Yeah.
like really insulated with metal. Yeah. Oh,
Mostly
that's.
I go through ginger
Okay,
ale because
guys,
if I-
my internet's playing and I gotta get going anyway. So I'm gonna say see ya.
All
Love you
right.
guys.
Bye.
Talk to you later, Jenny.
Bye.
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 Love you all. Have a great after show.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay. So yeah, like I have. Yeah, I don't. The only thing that I don't do in Yankee is uh um the only thing I don't do in American is liquid.
Willie.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's like liters and milliliters.
yeah. Everything here is in liters and milliliters. We do have some things that are in ounces, but I just don't understand it.
Well, I mean, our system makes no sense. So why do we even use it? It makes no sense at all.
I mean,
yeah, I do still get somewhat confused about the weights. I'm like always getting confused about, how many grams are in an ounce.
Right.
Yeah, I can only really do pounds, for weight. I can kind of do kilograms, but I can't really.
Yeah.
Like I can really only do pounds.
I can't.
Well, that's actually the reason that the U.S. abandoned the metric system. Was when Reagan was president, it was a cost-saving measure that
Mhm.
he dumped the system to save the cost of having to reprint all the highway signs.
Wow.
Okay, that kind of makes sense.
yeah, it's like switching over. U.S. is big. I mean, with like the UK, like English-speaking countries in like the 70s that switched over, like UK, Canada, Australia. Their populations are relatively small. Like,
Yeah, but our road system, and we do have
yeah.
our speeds posted. Our road system is quite extensive,
Oh
compared
yeah, I'm
to our
sure. Yeah, it's like
population.
bigger because you're like
And we're the second. We're the second.
Yeah, second
Yeah,
lowest.
the interstate highway system.
The
Yeah,
US
we're.
highway system's pretty dense too, and it's actually there are some highways that have metric on it, and one is like I think in Arizona you can find metric highway.
In some states, you'll see it with both, but that varies state to state.
I bet
Yeah.
it's the northern
Yeah.
ones.
Like, I used to live in Michigan, and Michigan does that because it's right next to Canada.
hmm
I think there's a highway in Arizona that it's only in metric. There's like only one
Yeah,
highway.
it's like I-19 because I used
Yeah.
to live like a mile away from that highway. And yeah, it's all in metric because it's right next to Mexico.
Yeah.
all our stuff is in. All our stuff is in metric. But I'm
Where
also.
in Michigan? Sorry.
Hmm?
You said you lived in Michigan. Where in Michigan?
Small town called Kalamazoo.
Okay, I've heard of that.
I know
Yeah,
where that
like-
is.
With the west side of the state.
Yeah, I'm in the Upper Peninsula, which technically, except for where our taxes go, this is really northeastern Wisconsin.
It's really like Canada or Wisconsin. It's not,
UP.
you know.
I know
Oh,
someone.
they are to the UP, eh?
Yeah. Well,
I-
I'm like 10 miles from the Wisconsin state line.
I saw like some sort of like a map, but it showed like the UP as part of Ontario, like a misprint on the
Okay.
map or something.
I'm
working on that.
That would make more sense.
I'm also familiar with nautical miles.
Actually,
So-
for the
Not-
last 2 years, I've been working on a plan to try and get Canada to annex the Upper Midwest. Then I
would be
don't have to
awesome.
deal with the Trump supporters anymore.
That
that
would
would
be
be
awesome.
just that'd be just rude.
Yeah, the Trump supporters and then the
Yeah,
like,
there is
radical
kind of a
government.
precedent for this. I found out when I was living in Minnesota that they had declassified a whole bunch of Canadian government documents.
Mhm.
And one of the things they found in there was that Canada had a contingency plan that if the US ever showed any hostile actions, the Canadian military had a plan to send a platoon of tanks down to capture St. Paul and annex Minnesota.
Okay.
Wow. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I actually know someone who was in CSIS, the father of a friend, and he said that the Americans would never be able to successfully invade us, because if they tried, yeah, we look like them, we talk like them, and we're smarter than them. They will not
No,
enjoy
We did
that.
try.
we did try, and then
Oh
you,
yeah,
and then you burn Washington to the ground.
I
So
wasn't okay. There wasn't any actual Canadians involved in that.
yeah,
The story is
No,
much
no,
better.
I'm not talking about that one.
yeah,
Well, let me tell
Everybody
the
knows
story.
17.
Everyone in America knows the name of Benedict Arnold as being a traitor.
Yeah.
They don't know his history.
Okay, I don't know who that is even.
Okay, in 1775,
Yeah.
Benedict Arnold was sent with a contingent to siege the city of Quebec and make it the 14th U.S. province.
Really?
Date?
Basically, they closed up the city, they let him freeze his ass off through a Canadian winter, and he went home. This is why he was so pissed off that he switched sides. Because even after that, they refused to give him a promotion. So then he said, fuck it, I'm going to tell the British everything I know.
Wow.
Yeah. So this story of actually how Washington got sacked, we didn't actually do it. It was the Royal Navy, and what the Royal Navy did was they went down to the Caribbean and they recruited a bunch of runaway slaves from the Americans and got that and recruited them into the Royal Marines. And they were quite happy to do it out of just revenge. And then they were a very large part of the contingent that went and sacked Washington.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's something I didn't until I looked it up. Yeah, that's something that the Royal Navy used to do. They would go and just randomly recruit people into the Navy. Actually, the War of 1812 was the War of 1812 was actually sparked by the British impressing American sailors into the Royal Navy to fight the French. So there's that too. But like this was the time where you didn't fight the Royal Navy. Yeah. But yeah, that's the story of how Washington basically got sacked, and then they didn't have enough people to actually hold Washington, so they got back on their boats and left.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just it's
I honestly thought it was Canadians. I honestly thought it was Canadians doing it.
So was I. That's what I was told. I looked it up.
It's usually it's now become sort of like some sort of national banter type thing. Like
yeah,
like you might be a big powerful army country, but we got you at one point, so it's like sort of like.
Well, here's the thing: we were still part of the British Empire at that point in time, so it was still Canadians who did it.
In a very roundabout way.
I mean,
kind of.
if you define it as like, I mean, it was like Canada basically formed from like the what the British had left in North America, so.
Right, it was like what was left of the U.S. colonies.
So.
That didn't separate.
Yeah, pretty much. All the loyalists fled to Canada.
Oh yeah, like the United Loyalists Empire, like I know, like in like even in my state, like in like when Pennsylvania was like obviously on the side of the.
Actually, the Quebecois said "fuck off." No, we're not even part of the British.
Yeah, they didn't want it, and if we did annex Quebec, they would have separated because they wouldn't have dealt with us.
For sure.
They would be independent.
Oh yeah. No, there was they were like, we're going to go join the States, and in one of their there's a reason referendum's a dirty word here. And they were like, we're going to go join the States, and it's like, no.
What?
Yeah.
Why would they do that if they want to speak French? No one in the U.S. speaks French.
No.
They would be better
I mean, a little bit in Louisiana, but that's not much.
Nobody in
Yeah.
Canada speaks French except for people in Quebec.
Well, and
It's very
New
rare outside of
Brunswick,
Quebec.
Nova Scotia. Yeah.
Okay,
New
it's very
Brunswick.
rare. It's very rare east of.
Yeah,
Well, yeah. Good point.
west.
West of.
Yes,
Like Ontario
west.
for. I guess
Yeah.
Well,
there's
you
New
don't see too
Brunswick.
much of it east of Quebec either.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's a little bit in New Brunswick, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah,
And-
like
and Nova Scotia.
Moncton, places like that.
But even so, I mean, I
it's
was
not
saying
Alberta
earlier-
really. Alberta is the.
Pretty much, like
Montana.
they're honestly the Canadian Utah
or
because they have a very high LDS population and they have like the same type of climate as us.
Okay.
got a
basically Kansas,
mountainous.
Utah.
They have like specs and all that stuff. They really try. Sorry, they have the Calgary Stampede and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They really try to be Calgary. Right? They have the
Yeah.
Calgary Stampede, and they really try to be Canadian Texas. They really.
Yeah.
Like Montana, it's like mountainous and full of cowboys.
Yeah.
Well, it
I
depends.
didn't
they
actually
border it.
realize.
Montana.
It depends where you are, because part of the
Yeah.
province is in the Rockies, and part of the province is still the prairies, right?
I mean,
So-
Montana has a
Mhm.
little bit of the plains, I guess.
Mhm.
Wyoming, like Dakotas, I guess.
Like-
South Dakota, North Dakota.
Like
I mean, it's not-
4/5 of Montana is plains.
Yeah.
It's Midwest. Only a fifth
I'm-
of it has mountains.
Yeah, I don't really know the U.S. all that well.
I mean, there's the western states are just like, I never really been to the West. Actually, I was born in the West, like Arizona, but
No.
briefly spent any time. And California, yeah. But
Mhm.
I spent most of my life actually on like the eastern side, like with like the northeast and a little bit in the
Philly.
south.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
been
like
to
I've lived in Georgia.
I've been to Ottawa once. I've been to Sudbury. That's the farthest I've been from.
Yeah. One of the
Like,
things
only-
about being on the internet has taught me, I always thought a lot of the jokes and that about American Southerners were really exaggerated. And I'm finding out, oh my God, no, this is real. And now I can't believe that, like, this is actually part of the same country.
No, like I lived in Georgia for much of my childhood, and it was definitely that way. Like it was definitely that way. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, howdy,
Virginia's a
y'all,
little
how you
bit like
doing?
Richmond. Richmond has this weird juxtaposition of like, yeah, it was like the Confederate capital, but it's also like trying to be this super progressive city at the same time. So it has this identity crisis
Oh
that's
my
really popped up in the recent few years. Although
Interesting.
Philadelphia,
I mean,
although
places
Philadelphia
can
it's like
change.
much better.
I'm watching Cirrus and like Godless Engineer, and I've never lived south of Chicago.
Mhm.
So it's like, like I say, I thought these were caricatures, but no, this is how the people really are.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I just want to say that most of the stereotypes up here are actually true. Like we do apologize to just about everything that happens. Sorry about that. I'm
Sorry
serious.
about that, eh?
there's like
About-
3 type of Pennsylvania stereotypes. What 2 of them are like specific to like cities, and then the rest there's like mountain hillbillies like West Virginia or something like
Is
Why-
Boston in that?
Appalachia.
Is Boston in that state? Fuck
Boston?
No,
Fuck
that's
Boston.
in Massachusetts.
Boston,
Right.
Massachusetts, like New England. We got the 2 major cities in Pennsylvania are Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Philadelphia is kind of like Philadelphia is kind of like mini New York, and then Pittsburgh is like kind of like almost like the Midwest a little bit, like an industrial Rust Belt city.
Yeah.
Yeah, Diana's
Like
in
Pennsylvania
Pittsburgh.
is like Midwest on one side, Northeast on the other, and Alabama in between.
Yeah, Appalachia.
Wow.
Appalachia is like its own region. Like it's not
It
really
is.
the North. It's not really the South. It's like its own thing. Although it's kind of
Yeah,
a little closer to South than the North, if anything. But that's
It's
because
more South.
A lot of Southerners actually moved to Central PA for like the coal and steel jobs.
Okay.
Because there was like lot of coal mining in the past, and coal miners got a lot of money because it's dangerous work.
A lot of people move out to Calgary or to Alberta because there's a lot of work out there. But
Oh yeah, there's
since
like some people do that for like Alaska or like even like North Dakota, like this like state that doesn't have a lot of people in it, is actually the fastest growing state because it had an oil boom.
Yeah, North
yeah,
Dakota is the big one for that right now.
Yeah, North
it's oil's the thing for Alberta, but it's
coal.
not nearly as profitable as it used to be. So
Yeah, coal isn't.
yeah.
Yeah, coal mining jobs aren't as big anymore, and that's the and my and I know people from like the coal region, and it's like, oh, and they went like really hard for Trump because he was like, oh, Trump
Yeah.
digs coal, and like like
He,
the
Well,
he
coal
was saying he
region.
would bring back the coal industry, and I'm
Yeah,
like, do you not understand structural change?
yeah. More
well,
people work in the retail industry than coal, and yet there's like, it's like who, like,
Yeah, because like
but part of that
their
he did do.
grandparents had it.
There
Hmm?
were actually some coal mines that reopened, but
Really?
Wow.
what people weren't thinking about is how industrialized it's become. Instead of sending miners underground in tunnels, now it's all strip mines on the surface with these huge machinery.
yeah, it's
So
like,
Right.
instead of employing 1,000 coal miners to dig the stuff out with picks, they employ a couple dozen guys to operate heavy machinery, and that's it.
Yep.
Right.
it's not like they're
Right.
sending people down there anymore, hardly. And even then, it's like,
At least people aren't getting killed doing it.
yeah, it's a
Exactly.
dangerous job.
But there were no.
Although actually, one of the most dangerous jobs to do by absolute numbers is truck driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
All the
driving is one of the
accidents.
most dangerous things you can do in
It is.
general.
Truck driving. Well,
Like,
truckers deal with a lot of stuff, but that's in absolute numbers, not
Yeah.
in like relative,
yeah.
like absolute numbers. That's because there's like a lot of truckers.
Well, the mining's the same thing around here because we're up on the Iron Range, so it's iron ore instead of coal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
we
it's like,
have
UP for you.
yeah, the last of the iron mines here closed like in the 1980s,
Yeah.
and all of these towns have been gradually dying ever since. But
Yeah, I
they, for
mean we
some reason, believed Trump. They for some reason believed the story that Trump had that companies were going to
Yeah.
come and start building factories up here.
And it makes no sense because the UP has never been a big manufacturing area. Southern Michigan has, but what like north of Clare, and especially up
Yeah.
in the UP, there was nothing. Like maybe a few small factories in like Marquette, but that's pretty much it.
Forestry has been it. The only thing that's ever been up here are the paper mills.
Right, exactly, because the climate just doesn't allow for, heavy industry basically. Like you guys get like 200 inches of snow per year. It's cold, it's not near anywhere.
Yep. Well, and like I say, they closed all the mines in the 1980s.
Yeah.
By 2000, they had literally ripped up the railroad tracks. They literally removed the tracks.
Wow.
So this should have told people that no, the trains are never coming back here.
Hmm.
And since you no longer have a transportation system and there isn't an interstate highway in the entire Upper Peninsula, you're fucked. Nothing's ever coming here again.
Yeah, I mean
Pretty much, unless it's like service industry.
It's tourism is the only thing left here. And mostly that's, people coming up here for hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
tourism
And
is the
hiking.
lifeblood of my city. But it always like we have had some manufacturing. We make like nuclear fuel rods here and shit. But like we are known as the gateway to cottage country. We have several landmarks. We have the canoe museum, which is like the most Canadian museum ever. Eh? And we have the largest unreinforced concrete structure in the world, and the largest lift lock by volume in the world. And that's both the same thing. So yeah, the Peterborough lift walks. It's actually a very, 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 very very impressive structure, especially since it was built in like the
Yeah.
and it actually takes no electricity to operate. It's entirely hydraulic. The most electricity it uses is like a light that's on the button that you press to operate the thing. So that's really cool, I guess. But like all of the prime cottage country in Ontario, like most people going to that, who don't own their own float planes and just fly there, which is a thing, from the world around, come to Peterborough basically.
Nice.
And we actually also have a legendary junior hockey team. We've provided more NHL players to the league than any other team in the world. And even Wayne Gretzky played like 2 games for us, and he got 3 assists. And like Bob Gainey and Doug Jarvis, the Stoll brothers, and a lot of other players have come from here. So
Wow.
yay Peterborough.
Like in Ogden, Utah, where I live now, the main tourism is from hiking, skiing, and hunting.
Yep.
Basically, it's like an outdoor paradise. We have huge mountains out here. I absolutely love it because I'm an outdoor person.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's basically what drives us, along with service industry. Ogden was a big manufacturing town 50 years ago, but pretty much all the factories have closed up.
Yeah, we've still got a lot of
people.
We've still got a fair amount of industry. GE is pretty much the General Electric plant is pretty much closed down. But yeah, we have massive amounts of hunting and fishing and forests. We don't have any mountains, but we have all of the lakes, like all of the lakes. And yeah, actually, there is one other very important thing that came from Peterborough, and that is time. Time was invented by someone who lived in Peterborough. Or
time?
Okay, time zones. Sir Sandford Fleming lived in Peterborough. The house he lived in is actually a heritage site now, and a Victorian era a Victorian era living museum, and you can go for Scottish tea, which is really cool. And so yeah, and I went to Sir Sandford Fleming College. So like, yeah, the dude who invented time zones lived here for quite some time.
I was
in the house
so
of Dr.
confused when you
Hutchinson.
said time was invented here. I'm like, time itself, how is that? Like, and one thing about me is I take pretty much everything absolutely literally.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, what?
Well, same with me. I take it literally, and if that doesn't work, I'm trying to twist it around. So I'm trying to think, is this the guy, like, who bred the first time plant from some other spice?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, what the fudge? Like,
I do have a tendency to be a bit trollish at times.
Oh, it's okay.
That's a good joke, my friend.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It made me laugh.
Yeah.
The only thing that's really notable around here is that it's actually the biggest growing mushroom region in the U.S.
Really? Mushrooms?
Yeah. Like in southern Chester County, Pennsylvania, like West Grove, Avondale, Kennett Square, those towns, like the area is known for growing a lot of mushrooms. That's like the only agriculture industry except for like keeping horses for like I guess rich people to play with.
Right.
So it does actually there's some like agriculture, and then if you go like a little out west, you'll see like Amish farms, a lot of Amish
Yeah.
farms.
Yeah.
Well, there used to be more agriculture up here, but most of the farms are abandoned.
Aw.
You know, most of
Yeah.
them have just been left to go back to prairies for the last couple of decades.
I guess there's like
You
some
basically destroyed all-
tourism, if parks and
Yeah.
some, I guess, rich person's gardens that became like some sort of museum, like Longwood Gardens, whatever.
We had one actual factory in this town
Hmm.
that made the plastic assemblies for AMC cars.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So, yeah, when the AMC company ceased to exist, that was the end of that.
Well, back in the day, our General Electric plant was making parts for Comanches.
I think the
Parts for
closest.
what?
For the Comanche attack helicopter, like the
Oh,
successor.
nice.
Yeah. So
I do
yeah.
have a question. Since I know that there are like some people in Canada who kind of have an accent. Well, they have an accent that's different than the U.S., but you don't. And so, like, I'm just wondering, is it typical for people in Canada to like have a distinct Canadian accent?
There are a few
And I'm not
different
talking.
distinct Canadian accents, like from say Newfoundland and Labrador and from people in definitely Quebec. But their primary language is not English, so that makes sense. Actually, a lot of Americans tend to be like, "Oh, you're Canadian," within talking with me for like 5 minutes because I used to work in a call center.
Well, like
So
I'm from Michigan though, which is right next to Canada, so I don't notice the difference because it's basically the same.
Michigan
So
actually has the Michigan accent is actually Canadian English.
Well, I've lost a lot
yeah,
of
that
it
makes
now.
sense.
You know, over the 10 years, I've lost a lot of it. But when I moved from Minnesota to central New York,
Mhm.
because of the Minnesota accent, most people there assumed I was Canadian.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
my accent is like kind of like somewhere between like General American to like I don't know. I can really like sound like the Philadelphia accent. Like I don't know. Like let me take a sip from my water right now.
Woodle, yes.
I mean, I can really
He
put on
goes with Woodle, yeah.
I can
Water.
really put on the Canadian accent there, Eddie, if I really want to.
If I really want to sound like I'm from Philly, I can just. It's like I'm gonna sound more like this, and it's just I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a faster accent to say, and it's like
Mhm.
I don't know. It's like you give me that John over that John over there. It's like
Yeah.
they're
I mean,
really thick. Although it's kind of like an imitation, since my parents kind of I don't know. Maybe they spoke like really general American English, like,
mine did too.
and then like and then I got like I heard like a lot of different like like out west. There's nothing really special. Then like Virginia has like it's like Virginia's like really like the bridge between North and South in some ways.
Pretty much, yeah. At
Yeah.
Like
least
the
Northern Virginia is.
yeah, Northern Virginia is
Well,
different.
yeah, that's why
West
in the Civil
Virginia.
War it got split in half.
West
Yeah.
Virginia, however,
West Virginia used to be.
West Virginia is very different from the rest of Virginia, unless I guess the parts are close to it, like from like like Tidewater, Virginia,
Well,
like Richmond, Virginia Beach.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is different.
Yeah.
Like West. Well, the northern part of West Virginia is more Midwest, like
Hmm.
Wheeling and places like that.
Like
But
it's
the
like
southern
next to
part is like the South.
yeah,
And the
like
thing is
Kentucky and Ohio.
yeah. And the thing for me is that like I've lived in various places, like mostly in Michigan, but I've also lived in Georgia, and I've lived out here, and I've lived in Minnesota. Um, I don't think I have an accent. Well, I don't think I have an accent. I do have a speech difference, but that's not an accent. That's just the way I talk. But um, when I lived in Georgia, like the biggest thing that I noticed is just the way that people talked. It was just, "Howdy, y'all. How y'all doing today?" Like it was just such an obvious accent.
Yeah.
It sounds like more like yeah, like the almost like Midwest, Western, I guess. What I sound like is like I don't know, kind of typical for like people in Pennsylvania does, like Central Eastern PA, I guess. But it's like
Yeah.
I kind of adapted, like I kind of made like because I've kind of made a conscious effort to like mimic people around me, kind of to preserve it. I don't know, like kind of weird.
Same
But I
here.
don't know.
Like I
There
tend
are
to
a few
mimic people.
sorry. There are a few different actually accents that Canadian accents that I encounter. Like even here in Ontario, there is a difference between like I guess city Canadian like city accent and the more rural accents.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also like a backwoods accent that people have. So there is a lot of that that we have
I've noticed
going
that,
around.
with the number of Canadians online, that, I can identify at least 4 distinct Canadian accents.
Uh,
Really?
and
Yeah, Western PA is like kind of like close to like
yeah,
Appalachian and Midwestern dialects of English.
Pretty much, yeah.
And Philadelphia is kind of like in a dialect continuum between like closer like Baltimore or like New Jersey and New York.
Yeah, but has that like northeastern kind of feel to it.
Yeah, like the Northeast corridor with like New York
Yeah.
and
yeah.
Whereas like
to
people from
Washington
Pittsburgh will say like, "Hey, I'm going downtown.
downtown.
You didn't
But
want anything?"
like
Pop instead of
if
soda. They
if
say pop out there. I say soda.
I
we
say
say
pop.
pop
In
Soda.
Michigan, we say pop.
pop,
Yeah, like it's like
what sound does it make when you open it? You open a can of pop. What sound does it make?
It doesn't say soda, that's for sure.
so well soda because that's what it is. No? Soda.
Yeah,
People
like
that
if
use
we
soda as
had
soda, it throws me off.
I thought
If-
that's just when something was incredibly obvious. That's so duh.
I know. Pop, and then like I
if
say pop out here, people look at me like I'm insane. Like,
if we
what?
had
Soda?
yeah, if we had
Oh.
Shannon Q in here, who's awesome. She's from Halifax or the Halifax area. So she would definitely have a much more distinct Eastern Maritimes accent from me.
Yeah.
She doesn't say a boot. She says a boat.
Actually,
Yeah.
I've lived in the Midwest most of my life, and I've usually heard it referred to as soda.
What
I mean,
part of the
depends on what part. I
Midwest?
heard that actually
Wisconsin?
like there's actually like some exceptions like in Chicago you hear it's pop,
I'm
but
gonna
in
be
Milwaukee or
back in
St.
1
Louis
minute.
they'll call it soda.
They say soda in Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin and St. Louis actually. St. Louis,
Yeah.
Missouri.
Yeah,
Well, I
St.
grew
Louis
up
does
in the
soda too.
Chicago suburbs,
Yeah, Chicago.
and then I lived for 25 years in the Minneapolis area.
Oh, Minnesota, that'll explain it. It's even got soda in the name.
Yeah, okay.
Minnesota. Yes.
Ohio.
Yeah, but pretty, except for I was in New York for 8 years. And
And
aside from that, I've always been, right around Wisconsin or one of the neighboring states.
then that makes sense. Like in Wisconsin itself, like there's definitely a distinct accent that doesn't exist in Michigan or Illinois. It's like they kind of sound like the mom from Bobby's World, if you've ever seen that show.
I never thought of it that way, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's a Wisconsin accent.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, I think it sounds nice. I like it. But yeah. Anyway, I do have to get going. It's getting late here. Thank you for having me on, by the way. I
You're
really appreciate it.
you're very welcome. And yeah, I didn't say this to the people who left before the show's ended, but yeah, everybody is welcome to come on the show again if they want.
Mhm.
We do like to have a lot of different people on, and there's been a lot of people who have been on our stream for the first time streaming. Y'all are not the only ones. So yeah, and yeah, we're just super cool with everybody, of course. So
So,
Well,
bye.
all right.
let me know
Right.
anytime. It's actually fairly recent for me to be, this open about these things because I haven't had anyone who would understand it for me to bother talking about it with.
Yeah, I mean, like with being non-binary, like I don't know if you were around when I said it, but the first time I was really open about that was with other trans people, and yeah, I got really hurt by them. They're the only time I was ever made to feel invalid in my life, and I used to go out of my way to argue with TERFs before they
Yeah.
threatened my Twitter's existence. So
Well,
like,
see, I go
yeah.
back a lot further. That in the early 1980s, it was like the gay community was forming, and they were arguing about whether or not bisexuals should be allowed, and a lot of them arguing about whether or not
Yeah.
bisexual was even a valid identification.
Oh,
Fuck.
they still haven't gotten past that.
Oh, geez, the
Yeah, but it's not
biphobia.
nearly as bad now as it was then.
I'm
I mean,
No.
I
sure
don't
it's
know
like,
how many times I got told you're really gay, you just don't have the guts to admit it.
Uh,
yeah.
But I'm living
okay.
with a woman and I'm enjoying having sex with her, so how can I be gay?
Okay, I'm just gonna out and say this. I've been in a threesome with a man and a woman at the same time.
Mhm.
So yeah, fuck off with
Yeah.
saying I can't be bi. Yeah. Yeah, fuck off with that shit. I've literally been about as bisexual as you can get in that
I mean,
situation.
yeah, I mean, the funniest thing is like, for me, it's like I just have. At first, it was like, for me being like, I knew I was bi for a long time, and then, but then realizing I was trans made really had like helped my sexual acts like be a bit better because I did have some like, not I didn't have genital dysphoria, but I do have like, it's like generally how like people see you can cause that, and I
Okay.
realized that I was like, should I be this disappointed with sex? They were technically good, but something just felt off, and there
Okay.
was an element of dysphoria with that.
I
Now, see,
Oh, I don't have like that. Like my sexuality is basically that of his, and
Like,
that's fine for me.
I think I said it before. Like, personally, I don't mind being accepted as a woman in some situations, but I definitely want to be recognized as non-binary.
I Yeah, I'm kind of weird on that because like on one hand, a lot of people don't necessarily understand or like or simply outright don't accept non-binary identities,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not necessarily a huge deal for me to need to be, because like I use she her pronouns, um generally, um and like I
pick up.
could be taken just for a very gender non-conforming woman, and I'm trying to get my body as feminized as I can with
Yeah.
hormones. So like, really, I don't necessarily I don't care how other people see me as long as I see myself in a certain way.
Mm-hmm. I can
um
understand that.
so I have a fair amount of body dysphoria, and I have a fair amount. I used to have some like internal. I don't understand. Like I don't. I'm having trouble seeing myself in this way dysphoria. internal dysphoria, but I don't really have any, like, I need people to see me in a certain way dysphoria. But I don't think that, I think that that's a just part of my personality. Like, I just don't care what people, I just don't care how people see me generally.
That's fair. For me, I'm just more like, as long as I'm not seen as a man, it's not a problem per se. I'm just like, because I have that trauma. I guess I saw that pain and trauma of like, of just like the assigned gender and breaking out for that. Because
Okay.
if I get put back in, it feels like
Yeah.
any attempts to transition to any way have been erased. That's why I want people to say, like, to articulate that way is like, look, if you're gonna see me as that way, then it's like every effort I've done feels like it was for nothing, and like,
Okay. Well, I started the show in the clothes that I started the show in. Well, really just a shirt that I started the show in for a reason. Right? There was a reason for that. And that's to drive home the point that I like presenting as a man and being seen as a man for me is like, and presenting as a woman and being seen as a woman for me. It's the difference between the two shirts that I've worn
Yeah.
for that show. It's all just presentation and expression. And
mm-hmm.
I'm comfortable with all of the presentation and all of the expression that I can express without trying to put on like a fake act or something like that. Um, and that's why people never would have ever thought that I was trans, 34 years into my life when I come out, because my having lived as a man for the last for the better part of the last 34 years has been genuinely me. Um, just not all of me. So I was able to just like only be that part of me, but it also caused some problems, and it's like, okay, I need to deal with this, because I was slowly isolating myself more and more, to the point of where it was really hurting me. And then when I started hormones, it's like, oh my god, this is the best shit ever. Give me all the girl drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and just socially, people still use a lot of shorthand. That if you're wearing dark colors, they're more likely to assume you're male. If you're wearing pink, they will automatically assume you're female.
Yeah, I
Right.
guess. Like, I have very feminine clothing that is in darker colors. Like that blue shirt that it's kind of like a shiny blue shirt that I have. But it's like dark blue and gray and black, and it's kind of like a storm cloud. I call it my storm shirt. Just because it kind of looks like a storm cloud or something. So I have that, but yeah, I guess I wear a lot of. I have to wear black shirts and pants for work, so I wear a
Mhm.
lot of just plain black shirts. And people seem to recognize me as female when I'm wearing them. Um, so I don't
In your
know, but
case, I wouldn't think you'd run into it too often. Just your
no.
facial features and your hair. I don't think too many people would say that you're a man at this point.
Yeah, like I can present it. Well, I can present as a man, and people will see me as a man if I really want. I actually did that. I actually did that last Tuesday. It's like I need to go. I don't have any. I didn't have any clean women's clothes because I had a super long, like, 3 weeks. So I just said, "Fuck it. I'm just gonna present entirely man." And yeah, people saw me as entirely man. I can still do it. Um,
I
but I
mean,
I was wearing my hair differently. I was wearing different glasses. I was wearing, what would generally be seen as masculine clothes. So, like, it's all just presentation to me. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if I tied my hair back and put on like different shirts and put on like a shirt instead of a blouse, I could. Oh, and maybe put on like at most natural makeup or even skip it entirely. That would be
Oh,
boy mode.
I
Yeah.
had
And men
my
with
hair.
ponytails are more common now, so.
I
But I
had
do it in a
my hair
certain.
done
But the
like
only way I know
this.
how to do it is makes me look like a Georgian man, like kind of like with a cute, like old, like it just kind of looks like that. Like
Yeah, it doesn't matter how you pull it together.
yeah, it's although
Yeah.
I kind of look. I thought I was looking kind of androgynous with it, but then again, what I think passes as masculine, feminine, androgynous is always different because honestly, when it comes to passing, people are liars.
Yeah. Well, my big problem is the facial hair. If I could get
Ooh,
rid of the beard, then I generally,
Oh
probably
yes.
could pass. I hate using that term even, but
yeah, the beard was honestly like it was. I had it on for a while because I was actually kind of too lazy, but I'm glad it didn't really bother me to have it. Maybe one day I would like to try like a bearded lady look, but
I
mm,
can't. I couldn't. I
yeah,
just couldn't
well,
do
yeah, I still
that.
have stubble. It's growing back, and
yeah,
it's
well,
so
Yeah.
gross.
see, that's
Well,
I've
Want
got
actually.
light skin and dark facial hair.
Oh,
So for
that's easy to
me,
get
no
rid
matter
of.
what I do, it shows up again in a matter of hours.
I got like
I could never get rid
kind
of
of
the shadow.
dark blonde hair.
I have really weird facial hair. What's left of it.
Mhm.
Because yes, I have obviously light skin and dark hair, but I was born blonde, like like
Hmm.
like platinum blonde, like extremely blonde. I wasn't. My hair didn't go brown until I was like 8 or 9. Um, and some of my facial hair is still blonde.
Hmm.
So the laser, I started laser in November, like 2 months before I started hormones,
Mhm.
because just like
Yeah.
I could not get rid of the facial hair, and a friend got me a discount like got me an amazing deal to get rid of it. So I'm just like, okay, I'm doing this, and that actually was what directly led for me to even start hormones, because I wasn't going to start hormones until I started laser. I wasn't going to start laser until like August of this year, or September of this year. Um, which I'm so happy things went differently. But it would have been like, yeah, it. I'm paying a tenth of what I would have been paying, although I do have to go out of town to do it.
Mhm.
So, like,
Yeah, see, I would have gone in for the laser hair removal if I ever had the money. It was never an option for me.
the spa, the only place that I know of that does it here wants $1,500 for 10 sessions.
It's expensive.
Yeah, and that's about what I was quoted, that it was going to be at least $2,000 to $3,000, and that just
Mhm.
it's money I've never had.
The normal price for the place I go to now, which is in a different city, so I have to pay $40, well, $34 a trip for the bus. The normal price that she charges is $250 for as many times as it takes to get rid of the thing, because she's getting more business, she's getting more money, uh, undercutting all the other places. Because I sent like 5 other trans women to her, and
Yeah.
like 4 cis women.
Yeah, well, that's definitely, if I could get a deal like that, not only would I go in there, but yeah, I can think of a couple of cis women that I would send over there too that have complained about it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, okay, you're giving me you're giving me like the most amazing thing ever that I need. I've moved on to actually doing my full torso because my torso has the same problem that my face has. And just hairy tits are not for me. So,
Weirdly
um,
enough, it's like weirdly enough, I mean, shaving off my chest is actually was easier to manage than keep my face shaved for some reason. Although like I never shaved before, but then one time I did, and I mean, I sometimes rub it a little bit for maintenance, but
Yeah.
yeah.
my pores are deep and my hair is dark and my skin, like under my shirt is extremely light.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely light. So
I
I don't
mean,
have
it's not perfect, but I
yeah.
mean, from a glance, it's fine. It's like whatever.
Yeah. Now, see, I have that too. When I've done a full body shave, that the hair on my chest and legs does not come back nearly as fast as on my face.
No, it doesn't. It actually has a completely different growth cycle.
Yeah. Although being on HRT, I noticed that my stubble's growing slower and thinner.
Yeah. It does
Yeah.
grow slower,
Well,
definitely.
I've never been able to get the hormone treatments.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, if you have a like Planned Parenthood or something,
Not
like
all
go
Planned
for it.
Parenthoods offer hormone
No?
therapy. Only a few
Oh.
do.
If
Like,
you have
And
one that does,
honestly,
it's
I
only a
go
don't
for
big.
think.
it.
Yeah.
And if there's one that would, it would probably be like super far. Like if you're in like the UP,
Yeah.
like Detroit or Milwaukee would probably be the
Well,
closest.
I'm betting the closest one to me would probably be Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's literally driving the entire length of Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's like. I mean, I thought driving to Philly was like kind of a hassle, but some people would have it like a lot worse.
The
Yeah.
bus I take, okay, it's a slow ass bus because it stops at every stop in between. But the bus I take takes me a half an hour to get to Oshawa, and then I have to get on a commuter train to go to Whitby. So for a half an hour of pain and suffering, um, I am like I leave at 10 after 10, and I get back at like 4:30 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if there were a bus from my town to Philly, it would probably take like 2 hours because think of all the stops.
Yeah, it's a 50-minute drive to Whitby, from here if you just take the highway.
It's like an
But
hour and 15 minutes to center city because that's where it
okay,
is. There's
it's
like
a
it's non like an edge city that's like out there where interesting enough where my ex-boyfriend lived, but I decided like they were both the same distance and I figured, well, I don't know where I'm gonna live. I plan to live somewhere near Philadelphia, so I'll just stick with Philadelphia because I'll be,
yeah.
easy
It
rather
sounds
than
like
like
you're about
some.
as far from Philly as I am from.
Hmm?
It sounds like you're
Yeah.
about as far from Philly as I am from Toronto.
I'm sure, yeah, because it's like an hour at least, if not
Unless,
more. Usually,
yeah, unless you guys drive a lot faster. Then it's
well, it's like because the thing is like I have to like just take some road to like a highway, and then I'm usually there, and the highway has some traffic, and
Yep.
yeah. If you're ever in Toronto, avoid the Don Valley Parkway at all costs.
oh, I'm sure. I mean, I've been to Toronto twice,
Okay.
although I mean for me it's just I drive up to let's see, I know how to vaguely get there. It's like you just drive up to Harrisburg, and then you take some highway up there to like towards Rochester, but not quite, and then you take some smaller road to Buffalo, and then you cross over to the QEW, and yeah.
I mean, this whole South Park thing about the only road. it's not necessarily a lie. Like, there is a Trans-Canada Highway that covers the entire length of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And like we're right on that, which is part of the reason why we're the gateway to cottage country, because everything comes through us. Literally everything that moves through the country will come through us, except for trains.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so we're right on the 115, which goes to the 401, which goes straight to Toronto. It's like $1.20 for the speed limit, which is I don't know, probably 60.
120 kilometers an hour is like, I think, 75 miles an hour.
Okay.
That's actually pretty good because I think, I don't know, like, that's like higher than the most speed limits in the US, unless you're like out west, which is like, Michigan, I think, is like the same, like 75, 120 kmh.
No,
Most,
most
some,
interstate and U.S. highways, the speed limit's 65.
well, yeah, some, I think in Pennsylvania, the highest speed limit's like 70 miles an hour. That's like on a turnpike, a toll road that goes across the state, and some like highways, like major interstate highways, but
Yeah.
the nearest highway to me is only 55 miles an hour or 90 kilometers.
Yeah, most of our smaller highways are 80. A lot of ours are 100, and then like some sections of highways like the 401 where it's just open road are 120.
Yeah, then
You
like I
can
think like the nearest interstate to me that I take to Philadelphia is like 65. But then once you get to Philadelphia, it drops down to 55.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean yeah, you're looking at multiple speed limits on the same highway here,
Yeah.
depending on where you are.
Yeah, through like, yeah, if it's for like a built up area, it'll be but that's the thing. That highway is not for a built up area. It's like it's part of US Route 1, which is like a really long highway in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Well, the 401 basically goes from like Halifax to Vancouver or Victoria, probably.
401. That's a Trans Canada Highway goes across Canada. 401 goes across Ontario, I think.
Yep, the 401 is part of the Trans Canada Highway.
Yeah, and at one point, yeah, oh yeah, it is. But then the Trans Canada Highway and 401 split off, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, from your part, it is. I mean, I remember taking it one time from Montreal, and then going like later into New York, rather than some point, and then I went through central New York
Okay.
by like Syracuse, and
Syracuse is where I live with my fiance.
yeah, Syracuse. That's where I drove by, and then Binghamton, and then
Yep.
Scranton back into PA, and
Yeah, well, I think the farthest I've ever been is, again, either Sudbury or Ottawa.
Ottawa.
I think Sudbury's actually farther.
I think
It's
I was pretty close to. I think I don't know. Maybe it is. I was pretty close to Ottawa at one point, but never. I was so close, but not really, because it's like
Yeah.
come from Quebec.
Yeah, that's Sudbury is a mining town. They mine nickel there, and they have the world's largest nickel. But it is reasonably far north. It's yeah, it's almost north. And everything that's going out of Ontario, like to Manitoba, or beyond, goes through both Peterborough, and will eventually end up in Sudbury, and then we'll go through Thunder Bay, which is like 15-hour car drive from here.
Oh yeah, that's like that'd be like going up to. Yeah, it's like far away almost, like Ottawa. Yeah, like you said, or Ottawa. It's like close to Quebec, and yeah, Ontario stretches from Minnesota to New York.
Oh yes, Ontario is absolutely huge compared to most U.S. states.
I mean, yeah, they're like.
Actually, compared to
Quebec-
all
Most
the
of the
U.S.
Canadian
states.
provinces are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Quebec is big too.
Quebec is big, and Ontario is big, and Prince Edward Island is tiny.
Yeah, it's almost like it almost reminds me of like one of our smaller states, like Prince Edward Island. Almost looks like Delaware, a small
Yeah.
state.
It's like 5,000 square kilometers.
Well, see,
Yeah.
Delaware was never supposed to be a state.
Oh yeah,
Delaware was originally just a county of Pennsylvania.
It was actually like the
Okay.
lower half of it. Then like I guess the lower half got some autonomy, and then they became a state later.
Okay. PEI is 5,660 square kilometers and has 153,244 people
Oh,
in it.
Delaware has more people. It has like almost 1 million, but not quite. It's like 900 something, 950,000. But a lot of it is just like suburban areas near Philadelphia, but its own states. It's a tax haven though, because a lot of corporations register themselves in Wilmington to save some income, whatever, to save some like corporate tax. I don't know. They have no sales tax either, so it's good for shopping, I guess.
It is about the same size as PEI. It's a little smaller. I didn't expect that.
Delaware is? Yeah, Delaware's pretty small. Although our smallest state is Rhode Island.
Okay.
It's not really an island. It's islands, but not totally an island.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know someone from Rhode Island. He calls TV remotes zappers.
I've heard them called that around here.
Zappers. I think it's a New England thing. Like
we usually call them flickers or flippers.
Yeah. Although New England's similar to, I guess, the Atlantic Canada in some way.
Sure.
I guess because like.
Except for this.
I think New England has a certain elitist attitude that they want to somehow distinguish themselves from the rest of the US who are like newcomers, that they were the originals.
Okay.
New England it's like its own little region. I mean, their dialects different. I guess everything's a little different.
Yeah, and it covers multiple states, right?
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
Although one state in there I think was very unique is Vermont. Vermont is really unique.
I have family that went to Vermont, decided it sucked.
I mean, Vermont is like. Not a lot of people live in Vermont, though. It's very small and rural. But it's actually one of the most liberal states, despite being so rural.
Yeah, Ontario is extremely rural, and we are very, very, very progressive. Even the conservatives here, a lot of them are very progressive. They're just like more fiscally conservative and socially. But that's a lot. That's something that you'll see a lot in Canada. Is you'll see a lot of people up until recently, most of the conservatives were socially liberal. At least the politicians. Now the politicians are like worse than Trump, I swear.
Yeah, some of them are pretty like, I don't know. Like, I don't know, like in the Northeast, it's like historically it's been like some of like the conservatives there were kind of like that in the Northeast. Though I mean like
Okay,
like
so
most of like the hardcore conservatives are like in like the South. Like that's always been like the most hardcore conservative region.
yeah, or in Alberta for us. So Ontario is 415,598 square miles, if you were wondering.
Yeah.
So it's really big.
I'm sure it is.
You can fit 14 Frances in Canada.
Yeah. 14.
That I learned that from a song.
Well, that's the other side of it, that most of the European countries are smaller than half of the US states.
Yeah, and most of the US state, all of the U.S. states are smaller than like most of the Canadian states or
Yeah.
states, provinces.
I mean, Germany could easily fit in like the northeast, like just like you can easily like Pennsylvania can stretch. If you put it on the map, it like stretches like across Germany easily, like western and eastern words. And even like the whole northeast could like dwarf it. Like it just take a chunk out of the U.S.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, most of the Midwest states, like, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, most of those are larger than most of the states in Europe.
yeah.
Most of the
Well,
countries in Europe.
well, I heard that Montana is the same size as Japan.
Okay.
I could
Japan's
see that. Japan's really a long series of islands, so
yeah,
you'd
that's
have
a
to add it all up.
weird thing. It's like it sounds weird, but although what's funny is like although most of the US's size is actually because of Alaska.
Yeah. Actually,
if the US never had Alaska, Brazil would be bigger.
Brazil's pretty big. Brazil's
Yeah.
like the 4th largest country in the world. Actually, I just learned that recently. But
Brazil's
if
big.
I
The US
learned,
is slightly bigger because of Alaska.
yeah,
Alaska pushes it over the top.
I actually learned that if the through playing an RTS, that if the U.S. took 3/4 of Cuba, it'd be bigger than Canada.
3/4 of Cuba.
Yeah. So really, it's we're neck and neck. Just
Well, Cuba's really big. Well, for its region.
just
Well,
really.
I really don't care about who's bigger.
Yeah.
And I have actually promoted the idea of giving Texas, Nevada, and Arizona back to Mexico.
but that would be like not necessarily a bad thing. For any party involved, really. Actually, we'll take Alaska off your hands. And all of the other states around the Great Lakes. Sure, why not?
Yeah. Pennsylvania touches the Great Lakes, so
Sure.
I mean, you can get I don't know, you can get more. Although New York, as New York does, so you can get New York City. Although I don't think Toronto would be so happy to share New York.
Well, see, I figured that we could trade like Upper Michigan, the northern half of Wisconsin, and Minnesota for Quebec, because Quebec's going to be pissed off no matter what country they belong to.
They wanted to go back to France, but the French said no. They don't really know what they're doing. And they couldn't actually legally separate unless all of the provinces agreed, and that's just no. So
I knew they had tried a referendum on it. I didn't know, Canadian politics enough to know how that would work.
They lost. Yeah.
But I mean, if they had won, I didn't know what the procedure would have been to do that.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows what would have happened, to be entirely honest. For all we know, the Queen could have just come out and said no.
Yeah.
Because she has that legal right. She probably wouldn't have, because she's amazing and just stays out of politics.
Yeah.
But she could have done that. She could have not gotten involved. She could have come and said, "Yes, good, you're out. Bye." Then there's
Now,
like
see, something most Americans don't realize is that when the Civil War ended and Texas was made a state, there was a provision for it that's in the Texas Constitution that the federal government recognized, that Texas has the right to secede anytime it wants to.
Oh.
No, it doesn't. It actually has the right to split into 5 states.
It has that too.
Yeah.
But Texas was at one time the Republic of Texas. It was an independent country.
From what I understand, the entire USA was more originally more going to be something akin to the EU as opposed to a single federated nation, and that's why it's called the United States and not like America or something like that.
Well, I think what we have now pretty much is like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like I say, I realizing the differences between the regions, and it's like, yeah, this is not something that's united at all.
It was like, I guess because originally like all the colonies were like separately administrated for like a long time, so they kind of had their little own rules and stuff, and they only united because they had like a common enemy of like, hey, Britain, stop messing with us or something. I don't
Well,
know.
see, most of the original colonies
Yeah.
were formed around churches.
Yeah, that's one too. Like,
So pretty much each one of them was a different denomination, and they didn't really want to deal with each other.
yeah, like I don't know, like, yeah, it's like I heard that, like, yeah, like a lot of them like got like, okay, like the English crown's like, okay, you can have this land over here, have your own non-Anglican religion if you want, church if you want to, just leave. And even Pennsylvania was set up as like, oh, tired of having a European crown bother your religion, come over here. And that's
Well,
what,
most of them were settlements that England set up because of the natural resources.
yeah,
So it's like, you
of
can
course,
have
mercantilism.
some degree of autonomy here as long as you're producing goods to send back to England.
yeah, that's pretty much how they operated. So yeah, we just waited like another 100 years and then asked nicely if we could leave.
Yeah.
And then we kicked a lot of ass in World War II, and we're like,
Thing,
and they're like, oh yeah, you can have Newfoundland too.
what, I don't know, it's like, I was gonna say, it's like, the thing in Pennsylvania was like, at first they didn't really want to fight in like any war for independence. They weren't like necessarily pro-British either. They just wanted to be out of it because the people who really settled it, Quakers, were like pacifist and against war in general. So, and what happened was like some people tried to like got like the Quakers like ousted from like the assembly and placed them with like pro independence representatives or something.
Actually, interesting thing about Quakers is that if you have ever eaten Quaker oatmeal, it probably came from here.
I'm sure.
Because that's our other thing that I forget about until they're like making their instant porridge, and like you can just smell like maple and brown sugar porridge all throughout the city in the morning, and it's just amazing, and then you get really hungry.
Mushroom factories don't smell that good though. They don't.
Uh,
They smell terrible.
I bet. I've gone by some tanneries. Well, they're terrible too.
Well, Quaker State Oil is from Pennsylvania
Yeah.
because the first oil well ever drilled in the US was in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, looking northwest, and there's still some like, I guess there's like gas and fracking out there still, I guess, but then
Yeah,
of course
trying to push the fracking. I hope they don't get to do too much of that.
I think there's like a ban on that because I think there's a ban on that, or it's a temporary ban, I guess, and some someone else comes into
Yeah, it's
power.
being argued in a lot of courts across the country.
Fracking.
Yeah, in Colorado, the water turned out to be flammable, so they kind of had a problem with that.
Okay.
That literally people could turn on their tap in their kitchen and hold the lighter to it, and it would light the water stream.
Wow, that's insane. That's more than kind of insane.
Yeah, well, what's insane is that they're still allowing them to do it, but
Wow. Like, do they have like Is it just shit safety? Like, what the fuck?
Well, it's basically Trump has gutted all of the EPA regulations.
Oh, okay.
So, the Environmental Protection Agency is being run by someone who used to be the chairman of one of the oil companies.
Okay. That's kind of weird. Yeah, that's kind of insane.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Yeah, Trump is an absolute idiot.
Well, the people that he's putting in charge of these agencies, are absolutely the wrong people to be handling this. The conflicts of interest are just appalling.
Conflict of interest. If you looked up, the best way to encapsulate conflict of interest is just to have a picture of all the U.S. executive heads just pictured together. Conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Like everyone's like in the wrong position. Like oil and coal barons are running the EPA and Department of Interior.
Yep.
Some hedge fund managers running the Treasury,
Yeah.
and Amway Harris is running the Department of Education, who has like charter school money something.
Wait, wasn't it Betsy DeVos or whatever?
Yeah, Betsy DeVos. She's
Yep.
and it's like they're all like just it's like there
Well,
was a bunch of cronies running it the show.
well, Betsy is a young Earth creationist, intelligent design person. So the person, so I'm pretty sure the person who is running the U.S. education system believes that the universe is only 6,000 years old.
Yeah. I think she pretty much buys into all the Ken Ham stuff.
Yep, and that's just really scary and sad.
Mm-hmm. Ken Hand is.
Yep. And that's why I'm going to the protest next week. Well, one of several reasons, but it's a hell of a long trip, but
Yeah,
it should be fun, and I'll get to meet a bunch of people I've been talking to online.
yeah, and yeah, and you're gonna go pick up Diana, so that's good
Yep.
too.
Well, she's only 300 miles out of the way, so what the hell?
Oh, miles. Wait, no. Ouch.
Yeah, it adds about another 6 hours onto my drive, but what the hell?
Yeah. Okay, if you're cool with that, then that's really cool.
Well, for Diana, and especially since,
Yeah.
she needs something to lift her up. She needs a chance to get out and have an adventure.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
she kind of does. Yeah.
And it's like I don't really know if her condition's as bad as she's making it out to be, or if she's just so isolated that she's getting depressed and giving up.
Probably the latter, but I don't really know. But yeah, she seems to be.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Have
if
her.
we can help lift her out of that for a while.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just like move her to somewhere good.
Yeah, I
I don't
actually
know.
just earlier this evening I was having a discussion with my brother and his wife about why I was going down there and had to lay the whole thing out. And it's like, yeah, it makes his wife kind of uncomfortable to be disparaging the Bible. She's not really a young earth creationist, but she still takes things fairly literally.
Galatians 3:28.
Yeah. It's kind of like she takes it to be a literal story. She's willing to stretch the time frame that where it says a day may have been a few thousand years, but you know,
Yeah. Well, Galatians 3:28 is something to read.
yeah, I'm not familiar with what that passage is.
Um It's one that I've been playing transphobic Christian.
Yeah, when I held on to the Christian beliefs, I was going with that idea that, it said like, you know, a day can be like 1,000 years to God and something like that. So it's like I could kind of fit them together in that way.
Yeah.
Instead of being a literal 6 days, it was like 6 eons.
Yeah. There is neither Jew
Yeah.
nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female. You are all one in Jesus Christ, or in Christ Jesus. So that can be taken to say that, like, trans people are cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, when I tried to hold on to religion because I was raised in that environment, I felt like, oh, it shouldn't matter too much if like Jesus is all forgiving and stuff. But personally, I'm like an atheist, so it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter anymore.
Yeah. Well, I never really had a strong belief in anything.
Yeah,
So,
to be fair.
walking away from it, I didn't really have, like, a lot of people describe it as a rather traumatic event. And I was just
Yeah.
kind of like, I got enough evidence that this didn't make sense. So it's kind of like, yeah, that theory's busted. Let's go with this one.
Yeah, my
I
my
mean, that's I
dad's
guess I
my
I
my
realized
dad's
the only thing I realized the only thing keeping me religious was a fear in hell. But then once I realized that hell wasn't really that much
real.
of a strong
Yeah.
thing, it was like that. Like all my religiosity went away. Like, oh, if
I
hell's not
think,
real, then
yeah, I think for most Christians, the hardest thing to give up is the thought of the afterlife
yeah.
and that they're going to be reunited with, relatives that have already died.
Yeah, for me that's not too relevant, I guess. But even so, I guess I just think like, mm, if afterlife
Yeah.
was really real, I feel like there would be some more concrete proof of it. And also, the burden of proof is on the religious. It's on the
Yeah.
theist, not the atheist. Like,
Yeah.
like atheists don't. Atheists are just like most. I mean, even as saying atheist is a religion is like saying bald is a hair color.
Yeah.
Well, it's even I will say that saying atheism is a religion is the same as saying theism is a religion.
Yeah,
Theism isn't a religion. Christianity is a religion.
it's
Um,
just
Yeah.
it's like there's even some religions that don't really have a strong belief in a god per se. So there's no so belief in a god isn't necessarily required to be religious.
Yeah. If you get into the Buddhist and Taoist
Yeah.
beliefs,
and deists.
yeah, that there isn't necessarily a God per se.
Oh, okay, no, different.
Even like I don't know, if I ever get into I don't know, I don't think I really have a strong thing for like spirituality or the supernatural, but even so, a lot of people want to have you to accept a certain view of the natural.
Yeah. We actually kind of touched on this just a little bit during the show.
Mm,
But Jenny's family and my mom are all part of the United Church, and like the United Church is actually kind of super cool. I mean, like I'm an atheist, and I've never believed it. Um,
yeah.
like my
I was
mom
always
didn't try to force it on me or anything, but like there's an atheist preacher who preaches in Toronto, so
there's also like us Unitarian Universalism out here too. That's pretty popular. But also I was like we're like Lutherans. Lutherans are pretty like chill. They're like one of the there's like I'd say like yeah, Lutherans are like kind of like the mainline Protestants, which are like pretty chill about most things. They're like they're generally accepting about people and even have like women as ministers as well. Like
yeah.
and
Oh, the
like
atheist minister, preacher, whatever, is also a woman.
yeah. Even I think some Lutherans have elected I think like gay ministers too.
Yeah, there's a
Now,
lot
that
of
really has not been my experience with Lutherans.
Although even then it depends on although maybe it's like I think like the overall thing like it's like lets it each church do, but around here and it's fine. But again depends. Like Presbyterians are a little more, I guess, a little more conservative though, because I guess they're
Yeah.
Calvinists. So I find that, but I think Episcopalians are like probably have to be the most liberal Christians out there.
I don't know the United Churches, but
Yeah, like Episcopalians, like it's like the American equivalent to like Anglican or something.
yeah, I mean, like our United Churches, one of them got converted into affordable housing,
Mm-hmm.
and they just amalgamated with another church.
Yeah.
Like they are, unfortunately, they're dying because they're like so incredibly soft religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people are just being like, okay, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that the majority of them are probably closer to being agnostic than theist.
Yeah.
They're like, but that's not bad because they're like super chill, right? They're
Yeah.
they've got the biggest church in the country. And they're just like absolutely super chill people, and like if you find my video of my city's pride, like there's the bikers, and then there's like 4 or 5 churches openly like from uh United Church openly marching in parade. So
Yeah, I think my university I went to was private, and therefore, and most schools are private are religiously affiliated, but it was Lutheran, so it wasn't a big deal. And the chaplain is pretty like he's like an ally and pretty forward thinking. And even so, it's not like I think like the biggest religion in terms of, like in absolute numbers in my area would be Roman Catholic. For a lot of reasons. One, because like like a lot of Irish and Italians immigrated here, so and also the Catholic Church is united more than like Protestant, since Protestant isn't like a one thing.
yeah,
Even
the Catholics are really big here. They're probably the biggest, most numerous church in
yeah, because
Canada.
they're united, because they're more united.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
Protestant technically there are more Protestants, but if you count like actual churches as separate, because it's just an umbrella term.
Yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, there's definitely more Catholics around here that, unfortunately, than anyone else.
Oh yeah, out in like
and they're the people are super, like, they're not horrible.
I find that,
but that's like being not horrible, especially to LGBT people, because of your religion, is going to be something that is a universal in Canada. Like, not even the Mormons give us a lot of shit. So
yeah, I find that it's only like the only people who are really like still have hangups against it are like the evangelicals.
yeah,
Like like Southern Baptists, especially.
if Baptists, we have we have like one confirmed and one trying to be added NIFB church here, and that's just utterly disgusting.
Yeah, and there's like even some that are like oh, actually there's even like some are like Jehovah's Witness. I know someone who was in that.
Okay, something that I found funny, that it's one of those things that you shouldn't laugh at, but apparently they're trying to start Pentecostal churches in Australia.
Okay.
Now, the Pentecostals do the bit about dancing with snakes and kissing the snakes. In the country that has 8 of the 10 most venomous snakes in the world. This sounds like a problem that will solve itself.
I wish Jenny was here to comment. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Although I find in like when I was in like I guess Germany, it's like that part was like I guess had like it's traditionally Catholic, but it seems like most people don't really talk about religion that much unless it's like around like a holiday like Christmas time. Then it gets kind of a little bit, but even
That's how
so,
we are.
like I
Like,
think like because like the U.S. had a lot of like I guess revival movements that evangelicalism. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, that's how the Mormons got started.
yeah. There was like the Great Revival in the early 19th century in the U.S.
yeah,
and
we
it
didn't.
started off so many offshoots of.
Well, and
Yeah,
now we've got Scientology, which was started on a bet.
yeah. Scientology isn't a religion. Well, it is a
Well,
religion.
actually,
It's
Scientology started because Robert Heinlein, Arthur C. Clarke, and L. Ron Hubbard made a bet about who could start a fictional religion and get the most followers.
Really?
yeah.
That's its actual origin. And
So
Robert
it's like
Heinlein started the Church of All Worlds, which is still going in some places.
Really?
I forget the one that Clark started. But yeah,
Wow.
L. Ron Hubbard was the only one who really took it seriously. It was a joke to the rest of them, but
oh, that's
Yeah.
what happened. It always that's the worst thing that happens when some people do a joke and then takes someone to take it seriously and it gets a lot worse.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Literally every meme on 4chan, by the way. Like
well, it's because L. Ron Hubbard was a lousy science fiction writer and needed another way to make money.
money. Totally follow the money.
Yeah. I mean, have you actually tried to read any of his science fiction?
No.
Yeah, Battlefield Earth is the best known one, and it's horrible. It's badly written. It doesn't make sense, and it's not internally consistent, just like the
Okay.
Bible.
That's the one thing with the Bible. It's just a collection of so many sources that happened over like collection of sources that were written over thousands of years by different people who never met each other. So
Yeah,
it's like designed by committee, but like tenfold. And actually, it
Yeah.
was designed by a committee. Like those early like church
Pope Gregor put
councils.
it together.
You know, and they took out and they left out some, and later churches took out some books and stuff. Like
and
the
and and
Bible
and
I have in
and
my
and
house isn't like the original Bible at all
yeah.
because
is
the
it a
Protestant
KJV?
it's NIV.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's the
It's a
the
Protestant thing.
mythology of the 12 tribes of Egypt, that the Bible was designed to get these tribes that had been at war with each other for 1,000 years to say that, well, we were really all worshiping the same God all along, so we're really all one family.
It's like the thing. It's like it takes its origins from a lot of like Jewish stories, and then it just goes on from there and
Yeah,
even then, it's like a lot of like what happens in those stories. There's like no record of like others like what they say about
yeah,
Egypt doesn't exist in Egyptians' own history writing.
yeah,
Yeah.
because they were trying to absorb these other tribes into their group.
I
And the
think
only way
even
they could do it was by trying to combine the mythology to convince
yeah.
them that they were praying to the same God.
Actually,
So you're
that's where
talking
like
about the Old Testament, right? Like the Torah?
Yeah,
yeah. Although even like I was taking this one class on like Jewish history, who's our rabbi teaches it too, and she even admits that a lot of like that there's like the idea of it might have came from like like some polytheistic religion, and then
yeah,
eventually all the other gods whittled away, and like the most powerful god became like the God of Abraham.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
there's
don't
like
think you will find any Jewish who are Bible literalists.
there
They
are
accept it all as being metaphor.
The thing with Judaism
they
is that it actually
exist.
does have a history of arguing with the text, so to speak. Like even
Uh
if you ever read like like a lot of like Talmudic text, is that a lot of it is just scholars arguing with each other over ancient and
Yeah.
ancient texts and traditions.
Well, actually, the community I grew up in was 85% Jewish when I was growing up.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
I had a lot of exposure to that. And one of the things I respect about the Jewish faith is that they believe it is the duty of every adult member of the temple to study the scripture, and if they find a point they disagree with, they're supposed to argue it even with the rabbi.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Okay.
like they don't accept the rabbi as being a supreme authority. Anyone can challenge him if they have a sound argument.
Well, they should make it. Well, okay. There's an very obvious reason why, like the assorted Christians don't do that. Mostly because most of their preachers are
Yeah,
dumb as fuck.
yeah, it's a whole different power structure.
And then there's a history of getting excommunicated.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like you just have popes excommunicating each other.
Yeah.
Well, and like there was a period in history that there were actually 3 different people who were all claiming to be the Pope.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah.
about that one. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was back in medieval times. I forget what year it was. But
Mm.
it's like you had one Pope in Italy, you had one Pope in Poland. I forget where the third one was.
France,
probably France.
Yeah.
Avion. There was
Yeah.
actually like an Avion papacy for a while.
Yeah, but basically all 3 of them were claiming that they were the head of the church until one of them had the other 2 executed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, bigger army diplomacy always wins. Just killing your enemy. That's how it worked in the Middle Ages. Just
Yeah.
kill. Yeah.
Well, that's
bigger
pretty
army.
much the history of Europe, is that, the map changed when the monarchs managed to assassinate someone.
Yeah, that's pretty much an example of that.
I mean, the Rhine Valley is a perfect example. It's, was either France or Germany, depending on which year you're looking at.
I don't know, they were fighting different kingdoms. It's like even like I don't know, just
Actually, that's part of my ancestry. My mother's side, they say is Finnish, but the town that they came from was actually either Finland, Russia, or Sweden, depending on which year you look at.
Yeah.
My ancestry is almost entirely Irish and Welsh. So
I guess the only confirmed ancestry I have comes from Germany before it was Germany. But rather a bunch of small states. Some guy left what was now Germany because the French invaded.
Yep.
And he didn't want to fight in the war
My
against Napoleon.
Well, that's my mother's side is Finnish. My father's side is Polish, which means the only 2 things, the only thing they could ever agree on is that they like to shoot Russians.
Oh well, no, the Russians got their asses handed to them by the Finnish.
Russia.
And Germany did not have an easy time trying to take Poland.
Yeah.
Poland used to be pretty powerful at one point in Eastern Europe.
The Poles are pretty badass.
The country of Poland has been wiped off the map 6 times in the last 1,500 years, and it keeps coming back.
Oh, that's cool. How many republics is France up to though? 4? No, 4. Never mind.
5th.
5th is 5th. It's 5.
Yeah. Well, it's because Charles de Gaulle wanted more power or something.
Yeah. So yeah, the French are in the 5th republic, and they had an empire before that.
2 empires.
Well, I kind of wonder about the U.S. that that people in Europe like to say the U.S. is such a young country, but how many countries in Europe have had the same government for over 200 years? Without some kind of a outright revolution or assassination or something of that nature.
Kind of. Britain, Denmark, Netherlands.
Yeah.
Not Spain, obviously. Um,
Sweden,
Sweden, I guess.
Finland.
Yeah,
Denmark.
except for England and the Scandinavian countries, I think you'd be kind of pressed to find
Would,
examples.
yeah.
And even England, you know, the United Kingdom, as opposed to England, yeah, so they didn't really hold on to their empire so well.
No,
Here, just go
no,
to
they
this.
didn't. They're still pretty. Yeah, well, that's what 2 world wars will do for you, where they were doing a lot of the brunt of the fighting against
Spreading
Germany.
themselves thin. San
I mean, like, they're
Marino. San Marino is actually the oldest continuous government. San Marino, tiny republic in the middle of Italy. That's its own country.
well. What about the Vatican? It's its own country.
Yeah, that's
Technically,
part
the
of the
Vatican
problem.
existed since 1929. Yeah, but if you visit the papal, considered to be the papal state, it's,
Yeah, I will be back in a minute.
Well, and the Vatican only managed because they pretty much paid off the Nazis not to bomb them out of existence.
and the Italians protected them. They got an agreement with Italy to protect them. Well, it's
Yeah.
2 a.m. here.
Yeah, we should probably wrap this up for the night.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean,
yeah, I don't think we have any audience left. I don't know if there's anyone in the side chat anymore.
Nope.
Well, it says 5 watching, so there might be a couple of people there, but maybe they just fell asleep and left the computer running.
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going.
So,
yeah.
so using Zoom was a new bit to me.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to look into this more because Google Hangouts has been acting flaky on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I can get Zoom to do some of the things that Google's supposed to do but doesn't want to do for me.
Yeah. That's it. It's just Google Hangout.
Well, and I've been getting a notification that YouTube is getting rid of Google Hangouts. Although who knows what they're going to replace it with, and it's kind of like, kind of like the same way I cringe every time Windows says it's going to do an update.
I don't know. I don't really understand much updates anymore. I'm really tired. How about you? You
Yeah,
look like you were nodding off me.
Yeah, it sounds like we should wrap this up for tonight.
Yeah, probably, but it was a great discussion. And
well, thanks for annoying me in.
Yeah, not a problem. You're welcome on anytime, both of you, and everyone else we've had on. So,
well, and the same with my channel. I do late night streams Thursdays at midnight.
Yeah,
and I've started doing middays Tuesdays at noon.
Yeah, I'll pop into your midday on Tuesday. I can't do the. I work at 6 a.m. Eastern. Sorry, I work at 8 a.m. Eastern on Wednesdays, so I just can't do anything. I just can't do the Tuesday night one.
Well, no, Tuesdays at noon. It's in the middle of the day.
Sorry.
But yeah, and this Thursday I won't be doing it because I'll be driving all day Thursday.
Oh, right, it's Thursday. Right, I got them mixed up.
Yeah, this Thursday's July 4th of July. It's gonna be people doing things, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I won't be.
Yeah. Oh, that's what today's for you.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'll be driving all day, so. I won't be
Not
doing
much.
anything else.
All right, and yeah, just
So.
we've done this was our 5th show. That's not an after show, so check out the others if you want, because they've been pretty good. Yeah, just usually after the first hour and a half to 2 hours, they devolve into what we've been doing. So that's why we kind of split it up into 2 shows today.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's pretty typical with most of these streams, that they can't stay on topic for more than an hour or so.
Yeah, well, we probably could have gone a little bit longer if people didn't start having to drop out. Just because being non-binary is a pretty broad topic. We can
I
go
think
on
it
for
needs
this.
like
Yeah.
a series of its own. We
Oh
can go like
yeah,
more specific. Like
Oh yeah, there are still some parts of it I have questions on, and
like you could do like more specific ones with like I guess I don't know. We could just discuss later. Like oh, what's
well,
a good
you could
topic?
probably do a whole show on just what is gender dysphoria.
Yeah, you
How
could
is
get
it
more
yeah,
defined and
specific.
diagnosed?
yeah.
Because
Well,
it's like I've heard so much different stuff about it that at this point I'm pretty confused about how they define it.
it's really subjective. Like okay, so our uh we've done a discussion with trans identities with Shannon, who is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
We've done like getting through gatekeeping and stuff.
Mhm.
And we've done our experiences once we actually started hormones. We've also done another one that was on the Alabama abortion bullshit because we wanted to do that. So we aren't intentionally in all and everything is trans channel. It's just that in Jenny are trans and where we are.
Yeah.
So
I feel like you sometimes get pigeonholed to speak primarily trans things, but I mean it's like that's something I know a lot, and who the hell's else going to talk about it?
exactly. That's where I kind of am. We have some big stuff coming up.
Mhm.
Well, it's in the works. It's not going to be done. We're doing a mini documentary that's going to be done in like a year.
Cool.
But it's going to be on the evolution of sex and gender.
Mm.
So
I
like
have thoughts on
all the way
that.
back, like all the way back to like when it started, like millions of years or maybe even billion of years ago. So that's how far we're going back with it. We've got R and Raw involved in it, I think. We want them. We've got an evolutionary biologist involved. It's going to be great. And it's going to be a multi part mini documentary.
Mhm.
So
Sounds
that's our
interesting.
big. Yeah, it's Jenny's idea, and it's going to be extremely interesting. We're going to do a bunch of interviews, and we're going to do a bunch of research. But we're kind of trying to like we're taking our time because we want it to be right. So yeah, it's going to be great though. And I've got like a. Okay, it's not over here anymore. I've got a notebook full of just show ideas. This is going to be a recurring one. There's going to like 2 at night. Like who the fuck goes down the road like that? So we're gonna have this. We're gonna have this a few more times. Like a lot of our shows, we can just go and get more people who we haven't had on before to just talk about it, or even have to talk more about it. So that's kind of where our format is right now. And I've had no problem getting people to come on the show, which is great. Even though they're just people I know on Twitter, which is kind of cool. So, yeah, thanks for coming on, both of you. I will